The SP 500 and the Nasdaq 100. I'm going to start the video going over the larger time frames. I'm going to get into the trade that I bought today. I've repositioned my trades in Coinbase and started a new position in another stock that I'm liking. And a lot of you have been asking me to go over this more here on the channel. And I finally stepped back into that play, which I think a lot of people will be interested in. If we look at how we're moving on the S&P, this is ES futures. In my opinion, this is a somewhat of a bull flag. It's a little bit ugly, I'm not going to lie to you, but you're coming down and holding previous highs, right? This previous high level around 39.20, you can see about right here. Again, it's not the most beautiful price action, but nonetheless, it's still respecting this range, right? You can come back and put it right there, and you can see you're holding that previous high that you had right there, mounting it, pushing back up. That does look good. Now, from a day trading perspective, before I go too far in the video, I want to highlight, I hate day trading this week. I'm not doing any of it. I'm not taking any quick trades, no interest. It's all swings for me personally. And I think you're setting up for a lot of great swing opportunities. I want to highlight that before I even go any further. Now, when we go into volume, this is going to be what tells me that, overall, day trading for me is not the way. Again, what do I use? What do we do here on the channel? We use supply and demand, and we use volume. That's what dictates all of my trades. Okay. Now, when it comes to volume, what's happening? We know the average on the 30 days has been around 95 to 100 million. That's going to be dropping drastically. Why? Because this week so far, 51 million volume on SPY yesterday, 60 million today. Now, you did rise, but it's worth mentioning that you got a decent move to the upside. Now, SPY, again, you had $5 of upside, but I did not trade that. So, shame on me. I missed the boat. However, when we're looking at this, I'm okay considering what's going to be happening over the next few days and next 2 weeks, give or take, which we need to talk about because you have a lot of stuff coming in. Specifically first here, we're looking here, and you have a few key levels we have mentioned, but I want to highlight something first. The 200 daily moving average at about 40.60 on ES futures, 40.50 roughly. It probably comes down over the next day or two also. So that's where I'm kind of targeting here on ES in the short term specifically. Okay. Now, we also have PCE data coming up, also going on December 5th. You have the G7 meeting regarding oil. We have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of big news coming up in the next few weeks. And then, of course, we have the last Fed meeting of the year, basically going into the beginning of next year. So before we get into anything else, I just want to highlight where you're at. And so you can see the top of this trend line going all the way back to December, almost a year long now, has us coming back to that, 40.70, 40.80 range on the daily and weekly. Okay, so just want to let you know that's where it's at right now. If you zoom into the daily, you can get a better look, and it's about that range coming to the 200 MA. So far, it's making sense getting this target. Probably going to happen pretty soon. Going into Nasdaq, definitely weaker. I think we have to say the overall chart when we're going to get here on the Nasdaq is going to be a lot uglier. Took a little bit to load in. There we go. And now you can see you're getting somewhat of that flag action on top of your previous highs that you had here. You've had a little bit of a dip below that area actually, but you're trying to hold above it. Doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look great. Doesn't look terrible. Definitely lagging behind as far as tech goes. So looking here, top side would be about to the 12.5 range, but it's highly unlikely that we're going to get it. I just want to let that be known. Looking at the charts, it would take a lot to get us up there. You don't have the earnings to justify it. Tech is just going slower than usual. So just want to let that be known. Now, going to smaller time frames, we had the descending triangle kind of forming here on the NQ on the 4 hour. You broke out of it today. Want to highlight that, right? We were looking for some downside tests possibly happening to get 11.44 test. That didn't happen. You got a slight break above. All things considered, this is not nearly as strong as ES or Dow. ES and Dow are just incredibly strong. Looking at Dow specifically, you can see that this thing is just on a rampage breaking through supply. I mean, this thing is ready to run, breaking almost August highs almost. We're literally right there. So this thing is dangerously close to really running. Caterpillar, Boeing, those are my top picks in that sector. I would be careful with defense stocks. That's just my personal opinion. Do whatever you want. I also like Home Depot in there also. Energy stocks, you have to throw those in. So there's actually a lot in Dow that we like. But going forward, this is what we're looking at ultimately here on the target and just the ranges overall. Now, I don't want to spend an extensive amount of time on this part on the video because I'm excited about trades I'm looking for and my overall plan, which I believe you're going to be pretty excited for also. Before we get into that, I have to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day I make videos for you, unbiased, straight to the point. I tell you if I'm winning, tell you if I'm losing. You see my trades, you can be the judge of me, right? Also, follow on Twitter. My link is down below. Make sure you follow on Twitter. Daily posting out charts for you. And just so you know, right now, we are having a sell on the Discord. Very important to know that right now, everything is 50% off across the whole store. This will be going back to normal at the end of Black Friday. Just so you know, this is one of the few times we ever do a sell here on the channel. So make sure you're taking advantage. What we're going to do right now is get back to the video and go over these big stocks that we're liking. Now, when we look at these stocks, I want to be really clear. Number one, I'm going to highlight for you is going to be Tesla. I'm going to use TradingView really quick so we can see, because I want to get rid of everything. I want to clear the whole chart so you can just see where we are. Now, I'm going to highlight a few points. This is the new stock that I bought today, and I bought January 20th $200 calls. That was my position. That's where I started to establish where I want to trade, right? So what I'll highlight is right here, your previous high you had back in August 2020. You hit this and you came down to key level in my opinion. And let's see where we're at. Next, what we're going to do is go into the 200 MA on the weekly. This is important as well. We need to look at where we're at. These are two major points and they're kind of coinciding perfectly. Now, everyone and your mother has been saying that we're in a head and shoulders, which I can kind of see it. It's really ugly, but I can kind of see it. If you look here, the last time we closed below the 200 MA on the weekly was before October 2019. Even on that really big crash or drop you had when Elon went on the Joe Rogan show, when he smoked weed, you came down and bounced at that level. I want to highlight, you're coming back to that level right now. We've seen the importance on the ES and other stocks and indexes, how important. So I'm saying Tesla, I'm taking my chances as far as risk to reward here. So I'm going for those contracts that are about 6.5, 6.6 at the end of the day today. And so I started my position. I'll be loading up even more. So going on, this is what I see happening. And this is just risk to reward where I see us going. And you're bouncing at our key level here around 167.5, 166.7. That's our little range. And you're bouncing so far. Short-term targets, I'm going to give you short-term, then I'll give you long-term. Short-term, I'm looking for previous lows to be retested around 177, 178. Going in a little bit further, I go to the 4-hour chart so you can see a little bit closer so you can see this chart. I would love to see this area back tested. We're going to go actually to the 2 hours. You can get a little bit of a better look here. Going in here, you can see this supply level, right? We can see the supply. Again, it's going to be about right here, about the 180 level. After that, the main question is going to be is can we start getting back up to 185 in the short term, and then hopefully getting back into the 195, $200 level. I'm not necessarily looking in the short term to get back to 200 immediately. I'll make my money. I'll make 50, 60% if we can get back to 180 in a hurry. Volatility will be our friend here because so far we've been slowly inching and trending towards the downside. For instance, again, I'm going to show you on Tesla what I've been looking at. So going to Tesla, I know this is, I have a lot more stuff on this chart, but I do want to show y'all. If we're looking at a daily time frame, go back to October. Back in October, we were moving, 198 all the way up to, 113. It was $10, $15, $20 days back and forth. To the downside, a lot of that volatility, right? Came back up, came down. Lately, the volatility has been less. We've been getting still decent moves relative to the stock. However, they've just been smaller. And then going into today, we started getting a nice little base forming down here also at around the 15-minute. You can see over the past, roughly 2 days, basing down here at our support. This was a buy signal for me. I love this setup. I marked this out in Discord. I started my position. I'm extremely happy with this going on also. I do believe you also need to consider, and we were talking about this in Discord, shout out Cajun, watching this, Boomer of the Year. We're talking and we're going into what's happening with Congress. Congress is going to be shifting. The House just went Republican. Before the big changes happen, I guarantee they're going to start trying to push their last bit of bills through for EV, the debt ceiling, etc. You're going to see a lot of these aggressive bills try to be pushed through before it's not all run by Democrats as far as the Senate and the House. This is very important, and this is a little bit of a gamble of what I'm looking at, but my risk reward here makes sense. For instance, the contracts that I bought at lows, they'd be down 10% based on today. If they bounce back to roughly 180, I'd be up almost 40 to 50% on those contracts. So for me, once again, it just made sense. And right now, based on the volatility, how we're pinching here, I like the opportunity, and that's what it is for me. It's opportunity. So that's what I like here. My other position you all know about is Coinbase. Still love them. Still love the downside. Big fan here. Basically, what I want to tell everyone here is yesterday I sold about 40% of my position down here near lows at the end of the day. I just had to, we were at 52-week lows. I had to start trimming, right? So this was 52-week lows here, around 40.7, I believe. I do want to come out and just verify so I'm not lying to you. So let me go to the 4-hour chart here. Yes, 40.89. We're going to come back into the 15-minute chart. So if you come in here, I just want to show you for what you're looking at, right? Really quick, you can see Coinbase today, you popped up near the morning, came back to that previous level, 44.5 roughly, rejected, and came back down. You did break the trend, so that is worth mentioning. But I want to highlight, this is where I got back into my position. So I sold about 40%, trimmed a little bit more near the beginning of the day, about here, when we got back to about a little bit over break even. And then I started reloading my position even further. I got down to about 8 contracts, reloaded back to around 15 for the same exact contracts I had before. So I still love the downside, specifically on Coinbase. The next thing I do want to talk about is Bitcoin too. Bitcoin, I'm still very bearish. Coinbase and Bitcoin, very similar charts here. Now, this could easily be invalidated. I want to highlight, but Coinbase is right now is an inherently very weak stock. If you're looking where Coinbase is, right, just looking at Coinbase and then relative to Bitcoin, it's falling into a T. If we look here, you're making almost a triple bottom in a descending triangle. You're not breaking out of it. You're still holding down. I also want to highlight, this is that big level that I'm watching roughly about right here. If you zoom out a little bit further, again, this is why I always say go to the higher time frames, people. That's where you're going to make your money, is when you start learning these higher time frames. So as we zoom in here, I just want to make sure it's right on that level, about right there. So this is roughly on that level. This right here, we can actually pull it back here also, about to right there, roughly about right there. This was your swing high back here, mounted it here. We come back in, we're going to zoom in really quick back to the 2-hour chart so you can just see, we're keeping it a little bit higher. This is that range where you're getting rejected. I just want to highlight, get really clear here. This range, you're getting rejected, finding resistance. Going all the way back. I want to highlight that. Look how weak this is right now. You're trying to bounce. The bulls are trying to keep you above this, but in my opinion, it just looks weak. Personal, what I'm looking at here, Bitcoin, I'm still a bear. I think Bitcoin has downside all the way to 14, possibly in 12K. On top of that, you have Binance and Coinbase going at it, going in here, and I have no reason why they're doing this. It's almost like every crypto broker is going after each other. Basically, Coinbase came out, said they hold 2 million Bitcoin in their wallets, and that's what they have in storage to go over all the trades if they ever, have to give that back out. Binance basically says, BS, bull. We're not buying it. This is bearish. Anyways, so this is they're having a go at it, and this, in my opinion, is the worst thing possible for Bitcoin. Every man for themselves. They're all going on. I believe Binance is at risk. I think they're doing some shady stuff over there also. So in my opinion, worst case scenario for yourself, just be prepared and have your crypto on cold storage. I would not be on any broker right now. I think Coinbase is actually one of the safer places overall. I think it's probably the safest, probably the last one that's ever going to go down. But I'm going to tell you right now, be careful. Cold storage, your best friend if you want to keep your Bitcoin. But as far as getting it locked up, if anything happens, Coinbase already said if they went bankrupt, you wouldn't get any money. They said it a long time ago before FTX went under. So this is the concern here. Again, this is just my opinion. What I'm looking at here, you're grinding lower. I don't think Bitcoin has a major push up, But if it does, even then, I'm hedged with Tesla, because the only way, in my opinion, Coinbase starts to rocket to the upside or even have a big bounce or any type of bounce is if buyers step in on a very bullish market. Even today, while the market was essentially very strong, look at Coinbase. There wasn't much good happening here. Contracts, they moved decent. They moved up well. They were pretty volatile. You came back and you held your daily open, this range down here, but I'm not buying this yet. Coinbase has to get above 44.5 for me to stop out. That's my little bit of a range here. But ultimately, I still love Tesla. I love Coinbase. I'm playing both sides, short and long here. So I'm very happy, and this is what I'm doing. And I want to be really clear and transparent about my position here. Now, if you're looking at other plays, potentially, what I'd be looking at over the past few days, I've been talking about some stocks I'm liking. I talked about Costco. We talk about Costco. I want to highlight you came into the range we've been talking about. On the daily level, again, zoom out. This is that same level we've been mentioning. You came in perfectly and you're trying to break out. You are in somewhat of a wedge here, so it's a little bit worrisome. But again, the Dow is killing it. So I think Costco has room to run, specifically after Walmart's earnings, and Walmart's a bull on itself. Keep that on your radar. But again, I'm not logging at these ranges, but watch out for the breakout. The big one, we mentioned Home Depot yesterday, HD, one of the big boys. Right to our target range. Remember, we went over this. I know some people on Twitter made money. I posted this a few times. One of my most bullish stocks on the market. Talked about it Friday. You went from 113, 114 on Friday to today, sitting at 325, above our target of 322. Love it. New stock I'm liking right now. I want to be really transparent about it and what I'm loving here. I do like TSM. Okay, again, it's a riskier play. This is one of the riskier plays, but I'm loving TSM. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm liking semiconductors. They still look very strong. The peace talks with China are still going well, and TSM is looking to expand, doing some more stuff in Taiwan, but they also have the Arizona factory, which is killing it also. You have a very nice ascending triangle here for me, guys. Very bullish pattern. Very, very bullish. You can see it forming out here. If you get some confirmation above this range, I think this has room to run. I was talking to Jay about it today, and I do believe, again, it's one of the safer plays because Buffett just bought some, but I believe this thing could easily start pushing towards the range of 89 to 90, possibly up to the range of 92, roughly. Again, this is my opinion, what I like here. And if we really start to see any sort of pivot, again, I do want to highlight also, if you start to see these pivot talks coming in, again, you already seen that breakout of this downward channel that was happening here also. You're already seeing that just easily being broken from that gap up and really holding that range, right? But what I want to say here, if you start to see these pivot talks happen, TSM has monstrous room, crazy room to the upside. Love it. Lots of volume flowing in here. Keep it on your radar. One of the safest semiconductors. If you're feeling riskier, look at NVIDIA. Again, we talked about this one. 4-hour chart. I mentioned I wasn't in love with it, but if it starts to get that bounce, and look, it is. It's bouncing right off these higher lows, gets right to the bottom of the range, and then boom, pops right back up, has a great day, almost $10, $9 to the upside. Still solid movement. So I do want to highlight that, just what's happening here. Very interesting play and everything happening overall in the market. But my biggest names right now that I'm in, Coinbase and Tesla specifically. That's what I love. And again, people are going to say, Tyler, you're shorting Coinbase at lows. Y'all said the same thing to me on Friday, right? Said the same. I'm not telling you to buy, but just do your own DD. I've already made good money off of Coinbase. I'm looking to double down and make more. That's my personal decision, and I'll just cut if you remount over 44.5. But right now, this is my trade plan and what I'm looking at. Again, Tesla is the new one that we added, and we got a pretty sizable position here. I'll start posting all that on Twitter, and the updates to be coming very soon. I'll see you tomorrow.